All right. So happy to be here. So welcome to this episode of Slay Goddess Slay, authentic conversations and stories with modern medicine women, inspiring you to go forth, be real and be authentic as you build your queendom with grace. I'm so excited to have today with me Cassandra Bodzak, a fellow Kundalini yoga teacher and student of A Course in Miracles. Cassandra is a multi-passionate goddesspreneur. She is the host of Eat with Intention TV, founder of Appreciate, an online mind, body, soul community, a global meditation and wellness teacher who focuses on our relationship with food, self-care, and meditation so we may live a life that lights us up. And to add on, this light maker is the author of the upcoming book, Eat with Intention, Recipes and Meditation for a Life That Lights You Up. So, yeah! I'm so excited to have you with me. It's so crazy because I remember when I was first starting, I would always see you liking my posts when I was doing A Course in Miracles every day. I did the lesson every single day and I was like, I gotta tap into this girl. And then it's there's so many crazy parallels into our stories. And I actually took the chance to read your cookbook. I read it all.
Yay, good.
Yeah, and it was wow, this is truly the paradigm shift we've been waiting for in terms of food and our relationship with meditation, our relationship with yoga, our self-care. Because I feel with me, I was one of those girls that always struggled with my relationship with food. It's super crazy because I came from a family of restaurateurs and chefs. My dad's a chef and my family has a restaurant, but I was always that chunky girl, pushing almost 200 pounds at a time. And it wasn't until, I decided to focus on self-care and take care and take action and become that sovereign being to become responsible for my life and Kundalini yoga and all these things that you like to include. It's really awesome to see that there's a support book now that you've produced and you've created, and you're going to help women to really realize it's not just about food. And there's so many things in there that I was just oh, yes, sister, so good. Oh, I'm so excited. So
I love that. And I need that quote from you on it. So I could that's great. I love that you said that, because when you write a book, you always kind of sit down and you think about what you want your book to be. And pretty much you put in exact words, kind of pretty much probably what I wrote out before I even wrote the whole book, and just been I really wanted this book to be the manual that you could give that girlfriend that has tried every diet and is super stressed and is just missing something, right? Yeah. And I really didn't think there was a real manual out there that was just giving it how it is and talking about the need for both the food and the meditation and the self-care, and how everything just really starts with making peace with your body and tapping into your intuition.
Totally.
So that's my hope with this book, that I can be, I'll be,
well, girl, you slayed it. You nailed it. I was wow. I was talking to my younger self. I was this was the book that I could have used back then. Because I think there's also more of awareness of, eating with intention, and that whole thing of understanding the food that we're putting in and the energy we're putting in. I know with my journey, when I was doing my deep spiritual work, I stopped eating all meats because I was I need positive energy in me to be able to get to where I'm at now. I need that so that I can be me. I need that so that I can best serve. Because every day in my prayers, how can I serve? How can I serve? And I mean, with A Course in Miracles and seeing this whole shift of our perception from fear to love, and
yeah.
That.
And I just want to add that I think that's the meat question, and the book is a plant-based book, but I really don't get too specifically into veganism, or I touch on it only to say that I don't believe in labels. But mostly because I love what you said, and that's what I firm believe. It's not about reading in some book somewhere. It's not about some spiritual teaching or some religious teaching telling you what you should or shouldn't eat. It's about you getting that intuitive hit and saying, and I guarantee it was so much easier for you to be I'm done with meat, because it came from you.
Mm-hmm.
It came from inside. It didn't come from someone out there, someone you look up to, or some book you read, or some Yogi Bhajan teaching or whatever that was like, you're a bad person if you eat meat, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're operating under that kind of paradigm, it's going to feel like freaking torture.
It's that self-sabotage. And that's something that you talked about in your book, was about like eating, not because of self-sabotaging. It was like eating because it's going to light you up. It's eating because it's what's there for you. Like, how can you love yourself in a way? And that to me was so powerful, because with me, like through my past of like struggling with like, oh, I need to eat this so that I can get this body. Like, and never, I had like a bad relationship. So I feel like I wanted to talk, like this conversation really open up an opportunity for us to reevaluate and rekindle our relationship with food.
Yeah.
With our soul. Because I think as more and more of us as a collective are waking up, and like we're understanding the importance of our pineal gland, we're understanding connection to our intuition, and that's like how spirit speaks to us. And we find that through that spaceness of meditation, which is something that you're so passionate about too. I feel like these are the things that people are waking up to. And like I said, this book is a guidebook to help support, you know, those people that are just embarking on this journey. And I know, like with your story, like I wanted you to just briefly talk to us like about the story and the journey, like the highs and the lows, because I'm sick of seeing teachers out there who aren't being authentic. And I feel like this new wave of teachers is because is coming into a space where it's like we need to be authentic and we need to be real, and we need to honor all the facets of who we are and stop comparing ourselves to the teachers that have come before us. Because you have medicine, your story is going to inspire someone out there that needs to hear it. So I just want you to like talk briefly about what has brought you to this point, this conversation right now with you with intention.
So where would you like me to start? Because it's a really long story. So how far back do you want me to go?
I want you to talk about like when you had that aha, that like you were supported. And I know you were like in the book, like you briefly, like you talked about your brother and his illness, and that kind of gave you like an awareness within your own self on how to take care of yourself. And I know you were like that girl that had a lot of like health issues growing up. And so that was, all of this has become like this journey now has been an opportunity for you to really connect to your soul. So I just want you to talk about that.
So it all started, like I had eating issues, body image issues all growing up. And then in college was when I really had the aha around food, which I talk about in the book, which was, you know, when I was kind of at my worst as far as like thinking my body was against me and thinking I had to do all this like crazy shit to make it skinnier and like make it look like, you know, Jessica Alba or whoever I wanted to look like in college when I was 19. And
because we know everything when we're 19, right?
Right, because I was just like for like 5 hours with athletes. Like if I keep going, it'll be like this.
Yeah,
you know. And I just I hated myself on so many levels that I wasn't even aware of. I mean, like on the outside, I was a pretty like well-adjusted, social, like normal girl. But I think so many of us are kind of that way, especially during those years. And then when I started getting some really bad stomach pains and they were debilitating and I could barely walk, kind of like period cramps times like 1,000. And that happened for 3 weeks on and off, random times throughout the day. I didn't know what was going on. Did a bunch of blood tests. Nobody knew what was going on. I ended up going on an elimination diet. And I think having those pains for 3 weeks was the first time in my life that I ever stopped to think that like maybe I wanted to take care of my body, and maybe my body wasn't just this like thing I had to mold and like, you know, starve and, you know, do all these crazy things too. And I released that because I just wanted to feel good. And that was the beginning of my whole journey with this. And that gave birth to my blog and healthy recipes, because I ended up going vegan, gluten-free, because my body couldn't process meat anymore, and it couldn't process dairy. I could process gluten sometimes, but I would fall asleep pretty fast. I had all sorts of weird allergies, and I just learned to live with it. And I went from being like a, you know, cheeseburger, milkshake, wings at night kind of girl in college after a few beers to eating brown rice and steamed vegetables all the time, and doing it from a place of love. Doing it from a place of being like, wow, I don't really like this food at all, but I really like my body and I just want to do anything to make myself feel better. And I, quote unquote, healed myself or whatnot, and felt amazing within a week of completely overhauling my diet and switching around. I felt like a new human, and I was sold. And then I just had to figure out how to feed myself and how to cook and what kind of foods I was going to eat now, because I was terrified of this whole new life with this whole new diet that for the first time in my life I was not doing to lose weight, and I was not doing for my body to look a certain way. I was simply doing because I needed to for my health. And so that ended up being the blog, and that was just a labor of love side project, something that was kind of my way of dealing with the cards that I was dealt. And then my little brother got diagnosed with a terminal illness or a very rare autoimmune disease in 2012, 2013. And I had my kind of dark night of the soul where I just was freaking done. And I didn't know how to function. I didn't know, at the time I was acting. I had a blog. It was like all these things going on. And I was like, how can I go like on set and like do something silly and like get this good paycheck and know the whole time that like my brother's dying. And I just felt like my life was really meaningless, and I didn't know how to handle it. So that's how I found meditation, after really surrendering and turning to a higher power. And I really just explored everything at that point in my life. I really, for someone that didn't dance all her life and who was into yoga and was in the acting crowd, which is a pretty like open crowd, I really didn't know that much. I wasn't really like, I didn't know a lot about A Course in Miracles or Kundalini or any of the meditations really, but I just started Googling stuff and YouTubing, and I tried everything. I tried all the meditations on YouTube, and that's why at this point it's super important for me to always have meditations, and I have so many like life coaching videos on YouTube because that's what I lived off of when I was really going through it. And I found people that I resonated with all over different kinds of practices. I meditated like 7 times a day, guided
meditation. You were committed.
I was.
Yeah.
I was my life support.
Mm-hmm.
And it changed my life. It changed my life in kind of an accidental way. I was just kind of doing it. I think I was so lucky that, I think during that time, a lot of people, you can turn to drugs, you can turn to alcohol, you can turn to all sorts
whatever
of
vice,
numbing agents.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I totally like quote unquote numbed out on meditation. And that allowed me to find myself again and to just start doing what I loved more, which is kind of how I ended up where I am today. Because I just fell in love with the blog. I fell in love with doing these recipes, like being in the kitchen, and I recorded the most ghetto YouTube videos ever. And the pictures on my food blog back in the day were horrific.
They were authentic.
Really authentic. And like I was actually going through some things with one of my assistants because we were switching all the recipes over to eatwithintentiontv.com. And she was going through some of them and she was like, oh my God, Cass, this one looks like vomit. Like, what is this? And it's like super yellow. I think it was a vegan quinoa mac and cheese like creation. And you can just imagine.
Slop.
It was total slop. Like yellow lighting and like a hideous bowl. And I was just like, this mac and cheese is amazing.
Yum.
I look back on those days and I have so much love for that. I have so much love for that version of me.
Because that's who you are, and that's you honoring your story, and it's like,
that's
you had to go through that.
Yeah. I think, I didn't know better. I feel like right now I work with so many amazing female entrepreneurs on my one-on-one coaching. All of my one-on-one mentees are all, amazing, light-filled entrepreneurs. And one of the things I find myself saying over and over again is that I feel like I was so lucky because I was so naive. because I had no, like, I didn't, like, competition, I didn't even know, like, I wasn't trying to do anything. I didn't think anyone was going to read anything or watch anything or even like anything I did. Like, it was all for therapy. And
because you do you.
You do you, boo.
Yeah, you do you, boo. I hear
And
you.
and yeah, so anyway, so I ended up getting on ABC's The Taste. And I never forget when they called me. I was going to Atlantic City for my girlfriend's bachelorette party, and they called me. They're like, during this show, we want to taste your vegan cupcakes. It's with Anthony Bourdain. And I was like, I know who Anthony Bourdain is. Like, I make vegan cupcakes. I'm not like going on some show so you can like make fun of me for an hour and like, no thanks. Like, I don't need that in my life. And they're like, no, like, it's not about that. Blah, blah, whatever comment. And I was like, have you watched my videos? Should you like rewatch my videos? Because they're really bad. And so I was like, calling them. They were probably like, what is wrong with this girl? Like,
No, you were thinking, what is wrong with me, when they were seeing your life.
It was so funny. It was so funny. I love looking back at myself during that time, and I have so much love for me. I had no idea what I was doing, and now I feel like it's so saturated. Everybody's doing something, and I mean, there's still a need for even more, but it's just like I kind of had the privilege of marching to the beat of my own drum because I couldn't hear anybody else's music, and I think that's what really helped me get where I am today. And then the book, To Get to All the Way to Eat with Intention. I'm sorry this is long, but I feel like
this is like you like we're like in your little dream space right
now. Welcome to my dream world.
Yeah, totally.
I feel like you guys are gonna love how this book was born. Because, so fast forward, post TV, post like blog starts growing, Instagram starts growing, everything explodes. I still have no idea what I'm doing this whole time. And I started feeling like, even though I was on TV for cooking, I started feeling I also had a duty now that I had a little bit more of a platform to share my spiritual tools, and I had to talk about meditation, and I couldn't let people think it was only the food. The food was important, but I had to like also share this other part of me. So I came out of the spiritual closet on my blog and on Instagram, and I just started going for it, and I was terrified, mortified every time I posted, mostly because of my friends and family that were going to be reading. And again, at this point, I still didn't really think anybody publicly cared about me, but it was terrifying. But then once I started doing that, I really started like flexing that muscle, and I was like, oh, I love doing this, and I love talking about meditation, and like I kind of almost veered that way for a bit. And I put the food behind me in a way. I mean, the food is always a part of me and a huge part of the blog, but I switched my blog's name from Go Sweet and Skinny because I didn't resonate with that message anymore. That was like 18-year-old me, and I appreciate it, and it served me well. But I just went from
Go Sweet and Skinny.
Right? Thank you, Go Sweet and Skinny. Like, you got me where I am today. Without you, I wouldn't be here. And I just switched it to my name because I was like, I'm not going to try to come up with any kitschy thing I come up with. I'm going to outlive and outdate and outgrow. And then, so when it switched to my name, I went more into spirituality, but I kept on kind of feeling this tugging back to the food. And I went to a wanderlust a year ago now, maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, probably 2 years ago. And I remember going to Wanderlust, which is this like beautiful yoga meditation festival. I'm sure all your people know what it is, but just in case. And I always set an intention. I was going on behalf of a brand, I think sponsored me, and I was like helping them with something. And I was like, my intention for this Wanderlust is to get a download for what I'm supposed to be really like, what is my next big like baby that I need to birth in the world, and where is my focus going to be? Because I feel on one hand, I can't deny my magical powers when it comes to food because I'm an alchemist in the kitchen. And on the other hand, I also have this strong connection and urge to like talk about these spiritual teachings and teach meditation. And people seem to like whatever I decide to put out, but I feel like it's so confusing putting out both. So anyway, I go into it. One of the meditations at Wanderlust, I'm in there and I get this past life flashback, and I'm in like a dirt hut in like the Middle Ages somewhere, and there's like a line outside of my little hut, and I'm like muddling like blackberries and basil and like this like weird little elixir concoction. I'm putting it in a jar and I'm giving it to someone, and I'm saying, okay, you have to drink this like once a day, and like here's a recipe to make more for yourself, and you have to go down to the river and like swim in the river every Sunday, and you have to do this meditation every day for the next 90 days and like whatever.
Medicine women, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I was giving all of these prescriptions, but the prescriptions included food, meditation, and self-care. Every single prescription had like those elements. And like sometimes the self-care was a little bit more typical, you know, and a lot of, at that point in time, obviously self-care was more like being in nature, and we didn't have the glamorous bathtubs that like we could do now, right? But
you know how much you love your baths.
Like I just taught at Soul Camp for a week, and I can't even tell you how many people came up to me and were like, oh my God, you're probably missing your baths this week. And I was like, oh my God, I talk about bathing too much. Baths are my medicine. I'm not ashamed. At some point, I might come out with a bath salt line just because I feel like I need to.
Totally.
And so anyway, so I got that download, and I was like, okay, but I was like, that's so weird. Like, how do I even freaking do that on like my blog or social media or whatever? And I was like, okay, I need to start doing it in prescriptions. That would be a great book. At the time, I was in the middle of writing a memoir for a certain publisher. And the next day, I get an email from a totally different publisher that I've never, outreached to or spoken to, being like, hey, one of our authors is a huge fan of you and encouraged us to take a look at your work. And we looked at it. We really love everything you do. Any interest in doing like a juice or smoothie book for us? And I was like, well, I won't do a juice or smoothie book for you, but this is what I was.
And I think like that is so important, because it's like there's so many, people that need to stand their ground, and especially like as women, it's like us stepping into our light. It's like knowing when to say no, and you're a goddess. So it's like, when to say no, and what resonates with you, but to have that, you need to know yourself. And so a lot of people are afraid of being vulnerable, or they're afraid of being authentic with that, or they're afraid of, being able to step out into their lives, like coming out of the spiritual closet and being like, no, this is what I want. And like really speaking with conviction, because, like if you want to bring and provide something that like resonates with you on the deepest level. So I want to like commend you and honor you for doing that, because I think that's so important, and it's so crucial for us to, really like stand our ground. And I think that's what I'm seeing, more women like rising up to that and like being like, you want me? Cool. But I'm going to stay, and I'm going to keep in my integrity, and I'm going to stay real to what I want. So I really wanted to commend you for that.
Thank you. That's awesome. And I think that's also, after I did the cooking show, I got pitched so many other shows that just weren't in integrity with what I wanted to put forth in the world. And that's when I started Eat With Intention TV. And I was
yourself.
I was like, I'm just going to do it myself. And when the time is right, it'll be on a network when the masses are ready for the message I'm willing to put out there. But I think it's so important for that too. And, I appreciate you commending me on it, but honestly, like the gift I have given is just to myself, because I can't imagine. I couldn't actually. I physically couldn't. This is a blessing. I've always been like this, is that I would be physically incapable of doing something I wasn't genuinely excited about.
Yeah, but it's also you living your medicine, and that's part of like being that authentic leader. It's owning it and realizing that, it's for you. That's the way you're filling up your cup. And then this is the overflow.
Yeah.
So
and it's also like when you're really, I think a lot of times, and I've had a lot of instances in my life like that where, people are going to, especially when you're thinking about like the media and stuff like that, people are going to pitch you from the level of their knowing, from the level of where they're at, right? And that's beautiful, right? Them pitching you something, or anybody kind of like pitching you an idea, a collab, or whatever it is, right, is an invitation. right, is pretty much, regardless of what they're pitching you, is always just saying, hey, I'm a fan, I love you, like, this is what my head is thinking of right now, right? And I think at any point, like, we should always feel comfortable to be like, I've gotten so much of the best things I've done in my life are because I was like, okay, thank you, but here's what I'm thinking, and how do you like feel about that? And they're like, oh my God, like my publisher, when I literally just wrote them the craziest word vomit email about my, like, I didn't tell them it was a past life transmission, because you have to kind of like, you know.
It's a balance. Yeah. It's understanding the boundaries.
You kind of have to know. I was like, wow, I was just thinking the other day and like had this idea. They're easy, just a few word tips to make it more, you know, for people that don't do that. And because I was so excited about it and my energy for it was like, they wrote back and they were like, this is amazing. My publisher is still like, I am so blessed because they're the biggest advocates for this book. They, from day one, have been like, I'm a first-time author with them, and they like put me as one of their top books for fall.
Oh my gosh.
Not a regular thing, right? And so I think when you kind of put yourself out there and take the risk and, you know, go with what your heart says, and, you know, whether that's just posting something on Instagram that is genuine to you and not, you know, modeled after someone who has a big following, or is a situation in that where someone's handing you something very attractive on a silver platter and you're going to have to kind of be like, well, no, thank you, unless X, Y, and Z.
It's part of that discernment. And it's like really honing into your, like, what's true to you. And when you're talking about like them presenting you things, like when I first like really was in the depths of my, I don't like to say dark night of this soul. It's the dark night of the ego, because the soul's always bright, you know? And I heard that from somewhere, and I was like, duh, like that makes so much sense, because it's like your ego is really the one that's being moved around. Your soul's the one that's rooting for you, but the ego is the one that's being, you have to learn to integrate the ego and still have that space. So it's like you see that person that's coming at you, like these publishers or whatever that were throwing things their way. But the thing that I learned from Deepak Chopra was like, everyone's doing the best they can everyone is doing the best that they can based on their level of awareness.
Yes.
And so to me, it's like awareness, and we're going back to food. And like the thing that's been like really strong in my mind is that, like for serotonin, you know, this chemical that makes us happy, majority of our serotonin is actually grown in our gut. It's not in the brain. So it's like that serotonin is feeding off the foods that we're eating. And so it's like, you know, you're going to be able to, we don't know what everyone else's life is like that's presenting things to us. So it's like recognizing them as that part of you in some form or another, because I'm sure in the beginning, like I know with me, like I just would try to grasp on any opportunity I could, even if it didn't resonate with me, because it looked pretty, but like I didn't have that strong relationship with myself. I didn't have that strong sadhana meditation practice. Like I didn't have my tools like that I have now to really stand with integrity and being like saying no, because at that time, like I was still very in my masculine energy of like, go, 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 with not in that softness of that like nurturing feminine. And I think like what we're really witnessing is like that healing of the masculine as a collective and within ourselves, especially as women, and the rising of the feminine in the collective and as ourselves, because the inner is creating the outer. So this is like, I feel like with this, and you know, with Kundalini Yoga, like I want to just talk a little bit about that, because this is our opportunity to really be able to navigate through time and space with these teachings and with this technology. And we are in this paradigm shift. And like I said, I firmly believe that this is a massive guidebook for it, because we're able to like have the buzz phrase of the day or whatever you want with this mantra. And then you have this meditation to get you going, and we can shift like that. Like that's what Kundalini Yoga was so powerful for me, was because I was able to like shift and change my subconscious mind. And that's why I believe this book is the paradigm shift, because I understand the technology of Kundalini Yoga. I understand the power of self-care, and I understand food. So I get like your intention with Eat With Intention. I get like your drive for it, and like for you to stand your ground, because you see that it's like okay, like we're going to shift our subconscious mind so that we can tap in deep within our souls to those old patterns. And it's so funny because like I had it on the ebook, right? So I just like randomly like picked a spot on my iPad when I was, before we set up for this. And this was the mantra that came up. I give myself a clean slate for forgiveness.
Oh, that's a good one.
And I was like, oh yeah, like, you know, like the Course in Miracles student teacher in me was like, yeah, radical forgiveness, everything is love or a call for love, like honoring my food journey up until this point. And like, I loved how you were talking about like this food mood journal. Cause like, I remember when I was like trying to lose weight when I was a kid, but that root issue was because I was depressed. And I, you know, would use food as my crutch to cover, or I didn't believe that like I needed to take care of myself because I was that overcaring giver of like taking care of everyone else's needs. So to me, like they were like, oh, you know, you need to make a food journal. And I was like, boring. Like, I don't want to be doing that. But then when you think about your mood and you're taking the time to notice how you're feeling and tune in, like I live right now, I'm from Palm Springs. So I'm in a town that's like a lot of older people. And I see a lot of people disconnected from their bodies. They're all over medicated. They're all like, and it hurts my soul. Like it's so challenging for me to do the work that I do because I'm seeing so many sick people around me. And so that food mood journal to me is like an opportunity to really tap into what's going on inside. And that's part of that gut intuition. That's part of like the resonance of like, if it's any doubt, go without, right? If there's any doubt, you go without. If it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. And that's part of the food. And like when you're, you know, talking about like you were eating these foods and you're seeing how they were affecting you. And that to me was like, yes, like that's part of our changing that relationship with food. And so like you offering a cookbook, and I was like reading it, and I went to like this amazing new grocery store in Encinitas yesterday with one of my girlfriends, and she's like a foodie too. And I was like, look at this. Like, oh my God, this is amazing. And she is like, oh my God. So like, we're definitely like, we're going to have like a crazy like food date. Like you may see some like food porn photos of us with like,
Yay!
Yay! I love it. Yeah. But I mean, and that's the other thing too. It's like also changing our relationship with the grocery store. And like, you're always posting photos of like you at the farmer's market. And that's also helping us with small businesses. Cause I know like when I go to like an average grocery store, I can't walk in them anymore because I'm feeling the energy of all the preservatives. And I'm feeling the energy of all the crap, the sugar, all that junk food. But then I walk into like a Sprouts or like a farmer's market or Lazy Acres, and I'm like, wow, like there's like, it feels good in here. So I think that's also part of it is, you know, with cookbooks like this and people taking the initiative, that's how we're going to change the paradigm of the way we buy food.
Yeah, for sure. There's so many things I think you touched on that I want to comment on. First of all, like I feel like I don't even consider it a cookbook because I feel like
it's a guidebook. Yeah,
guidebook. And you know, I love what you said about the masculine and the feminine. And I was talking to someone this weekend. I was teaching at Soul Camp about the masculine and the feminine, and that whole kind of relationship. And we all have the masculine and the feminine inside of us. And I think what the book does is really help you unleash your feminine more by also helping you establish your masculine.
But it's the self-care with that feminine, you know, and like that's part of us as women, like taking care of ourselves, and that's our top priority. It has to be.
The masculine is really, there's part of the, you know, I tap on a few times in my teachings, and I think in the book as well, is kind of rigging yourself for success, like setting up things like daily rituals, you know, deciding your meals maybe the night before, doing things like the food mood journal, you know, having a daily gratitude practice for your body, all these different tools that you can like pick and choose from what resonates with you. And that's kind of your masculine, right? Like your masculine is this beautiful structure that you create for yourself to hold you, right? To
help you feel safe.
Yes.
Grounded.
To hold you in this space. So quote unquote, I like to call it rig yourself for success, right?
Yes.
And so your, you know, morning meditation practice, your evening bath, your, you know, gratitude for your body, your food mood journal during the day, all the little things that you do. That's the kind of like this beautiful masculine, like I like to like think of it like almost like a cage, right? This beautiful masculine cage. And with that cage, it can support you to just be in your feminine, right? When you have that already in place, then you can release and trust that like you have that support, you have that security, you have that kind of like built-in system to hold the space for you, so that now you can just show up and be in touch with your body and receive and take care of yourself and listen. And so I think that that's like this beautiful thing that's happening right now, and realizing how we utilize both in our lives. And then the other thing that I think is really the overall message with the book, and with a lot of the, the food mood journal, and even with all the different meditations and all of the advice in the book, is that it's a book that's not trying to preach a certain thing as far as like a certain quote unquote, like,
it's not it's not the all, that's not the end all. Yeah.
It's a book that's trying to give you back your power.
Mm-hmm. Sovereignty.
So that you become the CEO of your own body. You start, the food mood journal. I was teaching workshops on this weekend, and I was telling people the food mood journal is really because it's so you can actually put the connections together. I've worked with so many people who, want to send me their food mood journal and like and I'm fine, whatever, I'll look at it. But usually what I'm always saying is, okay, like I'm going to look at it, but I want you to look at it. And I want you to take out a highlighter or, highlight on a computer, however you're doing it, and really make those connections yourself and really see, hey, every time I eat a bagel in the morning, I'm having like 5 cups of coffee to lunch. I'm feeling exhausted. I'm falling asleep at my desk. I can't concentrate on anything. And I want that little connection to go up in your head.
Yeah. Well, I want to jump in real fast because I think that's been part of the biggest teachings that I like to put is like, you are your own guru. And we've grown up that it's like, we need to think that someone outside of us is this holy grail. Like they're the ones that know all the answers, but that's also part of this like paradigm shift. Like I like to see people as equals. Like I'm not seeing like them as more important than me. Like we're just clearly like we're vibrating at the same level that we are here together to do this. And so it's like when you are giving that person outside of you that power, that's you giving them your power. And so that's like you taking the time to like know you and connect with spirit in a way that you feel supported. And then going back with that masculine thing, like that's the reason why our root chakra is that masculine. It's to help us, building that foundation. And we need to build, and that's something that like I'm very passionate about teaching, is that you need to create that solid foundation with yourself before all the great things can come your way. And I know you touched about that a lot on the cookbook, but I've seen that in my own life. It was like, before this, I was a music journalist, but like I had no sense of self. It was like I was looking outside of myself. I was looking through drugs. I was looking through all these things to help me find me and like for finding validation. And that's the other thing that I'm sure like you've seen is that like a lot of people come to us for like validation, when it's like when you are so strong in yourself, like that like you're the only person you really need to please. And then when you're radiating that, it's like fuck what everyone else says, I'm doing me, and it's about like being that sacred rebel and like sticking true to like your soul, because your journey and your experiences up until this point have shown you where you've been protected, where you've been guided, which ways to not go. And that says so much with our food too. It's all same kind of like mythology in a sense, but different characters, food versus So I want to ask, because I know we're running short on time, but I do want to ask a few questions before we head out. So I want to know, what is your favorite Kundalini mantra?
Oh, interesting. I feel like it changes. It changes based on, what I'm in the mood for. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think what I've been doing.
Puzzled you.
It is, because I guess I don't really feel like I have favorites in that realm.
What would you say is like a
it's almost like they're different, like,
children?
Almost like they're different tools, so it depends on what I'm going for. I really like a JLA. It feels really nourishing. Right now I'm on like a nourishing kick.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean,
although
I get that.
Ajit Kaur just came out with a new album that is absolutely divine. She has a beautiful song with Trevor Hall called A Call. that I'm in love with. It's not necessarily, it's in English, but a call is in there.
Yeah. Perfect. I also want to know, what does being a goddess mean to you?
Being a goddess, it means that it means to me being fully embodied, fully in your, fully present here on this planet while still connected to all the other realms, fully empowered in knowing that she is her own guru, that she is the CEO of her life and her body and everything, and leading from a place of love. I think that's what I would assume a goddess is.
Yes, yes, I love that. I also want to know, what is your spirit animal?
I'm gonna die of this, but my spirit animal is a turtle.
I love that. She represents the feminine, so that's actually incredible.
It's been my spirit animal all my whole life, and I've always been like, what an odd spirit animal, but I can't deny it. I resonate with it so much. It's my little turtle. I actually have a birthmark on my arm.
Mm-hmm.
I think is a turtle shell.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Maybe you were definitely a turtle in your past life. What would be, where do you think feminine leadership is heading?
Ooh. Loaded question. I think right now in the world, we're seeing two different kinds of feminine leaders. We're seeing more feminine leaders emerge, which is great. But I think a lot of the really big feminine leaders that we're seeing right now are actually leading with the masculine, are really not leading from a feminine place at all. And I say that both, on all realms in all sectors. And but I do hope that we're going to start seeing, not to say that that's bad at anyone's doing anyone that's doing that is bad, but I just think it's an interesting way to go about it. And I'm interested to see if perhaps that's just the first step. If perhaps right now we still are kind of like in the middle of this shift right now, and maybe, it's taking, I'll just speak, I was talking about leaders in all realms of all different areas, but we can even Hillary Clinton, right, for example, is, she's playing a boys game, mm-hmm. right? And so there's a certain element of strategy, and, in order to get a female in the presidency, she's still kind of dealing with old paradigm rules and things she has to do. And I feel like in all realms, there's a lot of that going around. In the spiritual realm, I think we have a lot more flexibility, mm-hmm. Because there is more and more leaders that are rising truly in their feminine. And I think what we're going to start to see, and the more aware you are and the more open your eyes are, I think you can truly see the women that are leading from a masculine place and kind of just pounding it out and using these kinds of generic structures and plans and very manly marketing tools, and the leaders who are really emerging from a more feminine place. And I think I'm really excited. Mm-hmm. I'm really excited to see more females kind of find that energy inside and kind of find what that looks like in a leadership position, while, balancing the fact that we all have the masculine and feminine inside of us, but leading from a place where we are prioritizing nourishing ourselves. We are prioritizing, I love the thought of, when we think of the masculine and feminine, and I kind of said that before, but, the feminine is really intuition and the masculine is very action, right?
And logic, yeah.
Yeah. So when someone's leading from the masculine, they're doing lots of action, right? But it's not intuitively led action. It's kind of that's when I say kind of formula based or whatnot. It's kind of logical action. It's that kind of action that everybody's telling you should be doing or whatnot. When someone's really leading from the feminine, it's based on intuition. It looks a little bit different. It looks a little bit more unconventional because it's not one size fits all, because it's coming directly from within and coming from out. So they're not doing kind of what everybody else is doing necessarily. And so I think that's really exciting, because the more people we get balancing that out, right? You need both. You need the intuition, and then you need to act on the intuition.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't serve anyone if you're all intuition and no action. It doesn't, and the same thing. So I'm really excited, for myself, very much on that path as well, to see how it's going to come out. And I'm super, super hopeful, in the years to come, to see more and more women leading from their mystical goddess feminine and really tapping into the immense powers that we have in the feminine.
I think we're giving them permission to do that, because I think a lot of women are just scared.
Yes.
So, yeah. Again, I wanted you to share with where we can find you.
Oh, yeah. You can find me in so many places. I'm at Cassandra Bodzak on pretty much everything, on Instagram and Twitter, and Facebook.com/Cassandra Bodzak on Facebook. I am Cassandra Bodzak TV on YouTube. And you can, and you can find out all sorts of things at CassandraBodzak.com. And you can order Eat With Intention on Amazon, and Appreciate. You can find out info on that on Appreciate.com.
You're just like all over the world, girl.
We'll hook you up with a ton of links below. And I'll hook you guys up with a link for, I have a free 45-minute beginner's guide to bliss. Which just leads you through kind of like a thing. You can listen to it. It's a juicy little 45-minute audio. You can just kind of check in with where you're at right now, and what things you can kind of pump up the volume on. And a 7-day free trial to Appreciate if anybody is interested in checking it out.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yay!
Thank you for your passion and for your insights and for your medicine. And I'm really excited to see where you are. And maybe even a year from now, we'll be able to catch up and be like, oh my gosh.
I mean,
thriving goddess right here.
Yes, I would love that. Let's check in here.
And thank you so much, Cassandra, for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
I look forward to seeing how this all unfolds, and congratulations on this book. Because like I said, I'm so excited to see people get a hold of it, and then like going to like hashtag Eat With Intention on Instagram, be like, yeah, that's my girl. She's killing it. Look at that.
Yes, I can't wait to. I'm so excited for people to have their hands on this book. So
I know. Good. Congratulations for, literally staying true to yourself and taking the plunge and being bold, authentic, and being vulnerable and courageous. And I wanted to say thank you so much.
Thank you so much, love, for having me.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you, everyone. Take care.